told me stay strong and I asked what's that. I ain't never been nothing, that's why the kid rap. She told me stay up and I told her that's facts. I told her that's facts. I told her that's facts. That's facts. I ain't never let them break my spirit. Hello everybody, my name's Spark. This is Sparky Speaks. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, comment. If you want to send hate mail, do that. So this is not a conspiracy theory. These are real things with real people who have really been investigating the Muslim Brotherhood since 1993.
This hearing is called to order. This hearing is focused on hidden in plain sight, confronting the Muslim Brotherhood.
The thing is, this is headed by Ted Cruz, and if there are two things I know about Ted Cruz is that he hates terrorism and he loves Jews. So I'm all in for it. So here we go.
Brotherhood Network in America. You may notice that there are empty chairs on the Democrat side of the dais.
That's because not a single Democrat showed up to this deposition. Is it a deposition? I don't know what it is. It's a hearing.
The American people should ask themselves why not a single member of the minority decided that a hearing on terrorism was worth their time.
Not important at all. Terrorism? Terrorism what?
It is an embarrassment and a disservice to the thousands of American victims of the Muslim Brotherhood, including most recently the dozens of Americans who died on October 7th at the hand of Gaza's Muslim Brotherhood branch, Hamas.
And thousands of Jews died horrifically too. A lot of people in the United States don't even recognize the savagery that really happened that day and how horrifying it would be if it ever happened on our own borders.
Beginning in the 1990s.
But yet it's okay because it's Israelis and Jews, not us, right? Makes me sick.
America has endured a litany of terrorist attacks that we must never forget. The first World Trade Center bombing, the Khobar Towers bombing, the East Africa Embassy bombings, the bombing of the USS Cole, and of course, September 11th. Yet as America prepares to confront Muslim jihadist terrorists overseas, a different challenge was already emerging, one that did not seek to conquer America through military force, but through a long-term influence campaign from within.
Very long term. And at this point, if you were to ask the leaders of it, which are still operating within these borders, they would say it's successful.
In 1991, the Muslim Brotherhood drafted what became known as the Explanatory Memorandum, discovered by FBI investigators in 2004 in Annandale, Virginia, just across the river from where we sit today. The memorandum described what it called a, quote, civilizational jihadist process in North America. And it explained that process in unmistakable terms. It declared that the Brotherhood's work in America was, quote, a grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within and sabotaging its miserable house by their hands and the hands of the believers. But the memorandum did not stop at simply describing an objective. It also explained how to get there. It called on the Brotherhood to, quote, master the art of coalition building.
They absolutely have.
And to, quote, absorb, contain, and cooperate with the existing Islamic organizations in order to advance its mission in North America. History has taught Americans the danger of dismissing determined jihadist movements because their ambitions seem too extreme to be real. The present members of this subcommittee will look at two questions. First, how the Muslim Brotherhood built its network in America. And second, what that network looks like today. The Muslim Brotherhood spawned Hamas, influenced the ideology of al-Qaeda, and gave rise to multiple terrorist organizations. Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and now the United States have all designated the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. One of President Trump's most important national security accomplishments and the culmination of a decade-long effort that I've been proud to lead in Congress through repeated legislative measures. But what is less known is the Muslim Brotherhood's network right here in the United States.
Which has proven to be extremely difficult
to follow because of the fact that every single time one of their groups gets caught as a terrorist group, they can dissolve and then reconfigure into another group under another name with the same heads, with the same goals.
Then the largest Muslim charity in America was convicted on 108 counts of funneling money to Hamas.
And this is way before 9/11.
Laundering funds and tax fraud. 5 of its leaders received sentences of up to 65 years. Let me say that again. The largest Muslim charity in America in 2008 funded Hamas. The same Hamas that murdered over 1,200 innocent Israelis, as well as civilians from 52 other countries on October 7th. The same Hamas that kidnapped children, that raped women and little girls, that held innocents hostage, including dozens of Americans. The Holy Land Foundation trial produced an extraordinary body of evidence. Wiretaps, internal memos, organizational charts, meeting transcripts, laying bare the Brotherhood's sprawling American infrastructure. Most importantly, prosecutors identified what they alleged was a broader network of organizations operating within the United States. That list included the Islamic Society of North America, the North American Islamic Trust, and most notably, the Council on American Islamic Relations, CARE. These organizations did not appear overnight. They began on college campuses in the 1960s. They were built patiently over decades through exactly the kind of institution building and coalition building described.
See, the thing about Islamic organizations and their belief systems and their willingness to wait for the next generation or the generation after that to be successful in their mission, when people in the West and American people especially have trouble being able to have that much patience and be able to wait like that and to be able to formulate plans that span that many years. So it's hard for us to recognize that these people not only spent their whole lives working for it, but also shepherded their own children into it. Their own children who happen to be American citizens.
In the explanatory.
And Abdul El Sayed, the one running for, is he running for governor? At least something, I think he's running for governor, but he has a connection to the Muslim Brotherhood through his stepfather.
Memorandum. Now let's look at the Muslim Brotherhood network today and its influence in the United States today. In fact, just yesterday, Abdul El Sayed, the son-in-law of a leading member of several Brotherhood groups, won Michigan.
Speak of the devil, huh?
Democrat primary for U.S. Senate. Perfect timing for this hearing. Probably explains why no Democrats are here and none intend to attend. Because their campaign is now openly embracing terrorist organizations waging war on America. Behind El Sayed's political rise sits a much older and more entrenched institutional network.
That would be the CARE Foundation. The infamous CARE Foundation.
The center of this sprawling network is the Council on American Islamic Relations. CARE was founded in 1994 by Brotherhood affiliates. Omar Ahmed and Nihad Awad, 2 of CARE's founders, were both captured on FBI wiretaps at the 1993 Philadelphia meeting, where Brotherhood leaders plotted to undermine the Oslo peace process and rally broad support for Hamas in the States. Months later, CARE emerged as a nonprofit. Many people associated with CARE have actively aided terrorism and criminal efforts. For example, senior CARE official Ghassan Elashi was sentenced to 65 years for funneling over $12 million to Hamas. Randall Royer, a former CARE communications specialist, served 13 years for helping friends join the Taliban. Bassem Khafagi, CARE's former community affairs director, was deported.
Bassem Khafagi.
After pleading guilty to fraud. And Muthana Al-Hanouti, former CARE Michigan director, was convicted in 2011 for violating U.S. sanctions. This pattern is not a coincidence. The Holy Land Foundation prosecution revealed that these organizations did not operate in isolation. They functioned as part of a broader Muslim Brotherhood ecosystem. When one organization collapses, another quickly emerges, often led by many of the same.
And that's the main thing that they've been able to do, is that whenever one of their groups gets broken up or one of their leaders gets thrown in prison, they're easily able to liquefy, move their assets to another group and form another group. And the thing is that they're very hard to follow, and especially when your government is ran by a leftist government that is either in bed with them or uninterested in trying to, stop them, then they can move with damn near impunity.
Same individuals. Consider the Islamic Association for Palestine, or IAP, one of the original Brotherhood organizations identified during the Holy Land Foundation trial. After IAP was driven into bankruptcy through civil liability for supporting terrorism.
But you see all this? This is a timeline starting in 1988, and we're sitting in 2026, and all of these groups have formed groups to start another group, all of them linked with terrorism.
Its leadership did not disappear. They simply reappeared elsewhere. Rafiq Jabir, IAP's former president, became a founding board member of CARE. Osama Abur Shayed, once employed by two Brotherhood organizations, including IAP.
And the problem is, a lot of groups, even if they're people who are ideologically on our side, they don't take the threat of terrorism in the United States seriously enough to want to fight against these groups, which is a mistake in my opinion.
Now leads American Muslims for Palestine, or AMP. Salah Sarsour worked for IAP before later joining AMP's board. He was recently arrested by ICE. The names change, the nonprofits change, but the people and the mission remains remarkably consistent. UAE rightly designated CARE as a terrorist organization in 2014, more than a decade ago. My home state of Texas has done the same. Today, this network sustains itself through interlocking nonprofit organizations, advocacy groups, litigation, political organizing, and taxpayer-funded grant programs.
Gotta love the left, huh?
They file lawsuits. They lobby legislatures. They train activists. They organize on college campuses. They challenge school curricula and school policies. They conduct media campaigns and public advocacy, and they win statewide Democrat primaries as recently as just yesterday. Consider how CARE's leaders responded after October 7th, when Hamas murdered more than 1,200 innocent people in Israel, the deadliest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. CARE's executive director and co-founder, Nahad Awad, declared publicly that he was...
And mind you, terrorist groups are doing massacres of Christians all over South Africa, in the Middle East. These things happen every single day. October 7th was huge, but groups like Al-Shabaab are massacring Christians constantly. This happens in Nigeria, and these screams go unheard.
Happy to see people breaking the siege. Happy at that horrific terrorist attack. Children murdered in their cribs. And Nahad Awad was, quote unquote, happy. I can't even share the photos and video footage that I have watched of what transpired on October 7th, because watching it will make you physically sick. On the very day that Hamas carried out its massacre, Zahra Ballou, executive director of CARE's San Francisco chapter, celebrated the attacks by posting, quote, "We are witnessing decolonization." Months later, she referred to Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh as a martyr. CARE California CEO Hussam Alouche said, quote, "Israel should be attacked." Understand, terrorists slaughtered entire families, kidnapped children and grandparents, raped women, and burned civilians alive in their homes. How do we know this? Because they recorded it themselves, and many took video footage of their heinous act, gleefully screaming, "Allahu Akbar." They were proud of their barbarism. And CARE supported the attacks on Israel. CARE did not merely issue statements. They assisted the broader Muslim Brotherhood network as it coordinated legal support and strategic guidance for the violent campus encampments and riots at over 100 campuses.
Absolutely ridiculous that most of these campuses refuse to disavow them, to try to shut them down. Just disgusting. But also understandable when you realize that they get a lot of funding from places like Qatar, and you realize that all of these organizations are connected with each other.
Around the country. The stories on college campuses were horrific. At the University of Washington, the granddaughter of Holocaust survivors was called names, spit at, laughed at, and told to, quote, go back to the gas chambers. Not a lot of subtlety and nuance in that one. At Columbia, when Jewish students were engaged in a patriotic display of waving the American flag and the Israeli flag, an extremist posed with a poster saying, Al-Qassam's next target. Al-Qassam is the military arm of Hamas, responsible for conducting its terrorist organizations. Extremists are literally calling and advocating for the death of Jewish students on campus. And by the way, the extremist who was in that photograph was not from the Middle East. She was not Palestinian. She was a pretty blonde girl from Georgia who went to Columbia.
And how sick is it that we have people like that getting radicalized, you know, by these organizations? This is exactly what they want. Even though they would be a target of Hamas here, they support them anyway.
To be radicalized by zealots who hate America. The situation got so bad that the Orthodox rabbi on campus, Rabbi Eli Buchler, had to make this public statement, quote, the events of the last few days have made it clear that Columbia University's public safety and the NYPD cannot guarantee Jewish students' safety in the face of extreme anti-Semitism and anarchy. I would strongly recommend you return home. That is a university that is failing its most basic mission, which is to protect the safety of the students enrolled at that university. The events we witnessed on college campuses after October 7th did not emerge from nowhere. They were not spontaneous. They were not organic. They were the product of an organized network that has spent decades building influence inside the United States. Just look at this dais. My Democrat colleagues have chosen not to participate. That's their right. But an oversight hearing that one of the two major parties refuses even to see is exactly the outcome these organizations that we're discussing have spent 40 years.
It's true. And thank God that we have people like Ted Cruz out there fighting this fight, because this is something that can and will eat up our entire country and take away all of our rights, because that's exactly what they want to do. Sharia law is a nightmare. If you look at the way that people are forced to live in Iran, you realize that that is exactly what they want to do right here. And if you were to ask them, they would say they're successful at it so far. They haven't reached the end of their goal yet, but they're still fighting. And they're still operating within America's borders with impunity. So I just feel like it's really, really important for us as Americans to know this kind of stuff. So God bless. Like, share, subscribe. This is Sparky Speaks. Peace.